Hey Ambush! When the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass Wave 3 was announced in September, I was cautiously optimistic, cautiously excited. Okay, Peach Gardens, good choice. I can't make fun of the British for that, especially the Crown. Merry Mountain? Stop the liberal war on Christmas. Now, what does Happy Holidays even mean? And with Wave 3 finally here after another trailer in late November showing off all the retro tracks coming to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, how do all these new retro tracks stack up to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's base tracks and Wave 1 and Wave 2 of the Booster Course Pass? I previously gave my thoughts on Wave 1 and Wave 2 in my award-winning video on Wii U games on Nintendo Switch, and it's fair to ask, does Wave 3 have the same highs and the same lows as the previous waves in the Booster Course Pass? The first new cup, the Rock Cup, by the way, the icon is a rock mushroom. Why is it called the Rock Cup? It makes no sense. Or does it? We start off with London Loop from Mario Kart Tour, with the tour track starting off each cup being consistency in the Booster Course Pass. The track has received, in my opinion, the best visual upgrade from Mario Kart Tour yet in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with a more detailed grass texture utilized, a nice use of stone texturing along the River Thames and Leadenhall Market, and a brilliant utilization of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's lighting engine, adding foggy weather that very much represents the depressing weather of London.
What a lovely British morning!
And a great use of lighting representing sunlight that gleams off the buildings with much more impressive results than Paris Promenade. While this track maintains the flatter, boring visual style of Mario Kart Tour that has been utilized in the Booster Course Pass, this is the best implementation of a Mario Kart Tour track on an HD console. Also, the London Eye now moves, unlike in Tour, which I could assume was frustrating for the British in the Mario Kart Tour universe.
Bloody hell!
The remix of London Loop in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is phenomenal. The live band recording is so much more energetic in Deluxe. The drums are so much more impactful, the keyboard additions help to carry the mix, and the guitar playing has a much more 70s and 80s British rock punch to it. Deluxe takes some great liberties with the track design of Tour London Loop and one of the better implemented, less confusingly designed tour tracks for this title. The first lap is based on London Loop 1 from Mario Kart Tour, however with some notable changes such as a straighter, faster path passing Leadenhall Market at the cost of items in the market. The second lap is based on London Loop 2, taking you through St. James Park while avoiding some cleverly placed chain chomps, leading you along a long road towards a ramp directly in front of Bush House and across Waterloo Bridge before taking 2 right turns towards the finish line, unlike the wrong turns Napoleon made at the Battle of Waterloo. The third lap, now that's where things get interesting in good creative ways. It combines London Loop 2 and London Loop 3R from Tour, creating the best lap of the track, with the chain chomp now roaming around St. James Park, another chain chomp roaming around Charing Cross that you must avoid as you pass through Admiralty Arc, and taking players along the River Thames and eventually towards the finish line. What I appreciate most about this tour track is that it stays interesting and exciting with plenty of turns and routing options, unlike the boring Tokyo Blur, and is not a confusing mess of arrows pointing you in every which direction for ungodly reasons like New York Minute. Rather, all the turns you make throughout London Loop feel well thought out and intuitive to drift through. In my book, this is a welcome addition, as it is a fun, great track to play, which cannot be said for the 2 tour sins that I highlighted. Boo Lake from Mario Kart Super Circuit on the Game Boy Advance was not necessarily an interesting or notable track from that title, but ended up returning in Mario Kart Tour with an added water section that made the track much less, well, boring. So let's see how the developers have revamped this track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe from Mario Kart Tour rather than looking at the original track's iteration in Super Circuit. Rather than employing the cartoony cloud skybox used in Mario Kart Tour, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe utilizes a more realistic skybox with realistic clouds, which is much more graphically interesting. Additionally, the lighting used in this track promotes a darker night, reflected by the lamps lighting up the track, the full moon lighting up the night sky, and the additional darkness underwater. The water and watery reflections on the track are also great graphical additions that make the cartoony wooden planks look much more visually impressive. The new ramps are a nice touch to match the track's color scheme. Overall, this is one of the better looking Booster Course Pass tracks in this flatter art style. When it comes to the music, it's okay. It's fairly faithful to Super Circuit and is what constitutes generic Mario Ghost House music. While a track like Ribbon Road in Deluxe was completely reinvented for the better, Boo Lake is a fairly faithful rendition with a twist, an anti-gravity water section from Tour, resulting in a more interesting track, but a track that is very by the numbers and fairly generic. It's not a very notable addition, it's just one of those tracks that is nice to have for the sake of there being more tracks in the game. A fitting course for the name of this cup, 3DS Rock Rock Mountain makes a return from Mario Kart 7, was generally a fun, well-designed track from that title, showing off the game's new glider ability. Visually, this track shares much of its visual identity with the Mario Kart Tour iteration and N64 Choco Mountain. The upgraded textures, such as the dirt and boulders, are nice graphical enhancements present in the track. Otherwise, the lighting is improved, especially in the cavern section, and with the added fog during the glider section, it looks like what you'd expect from Wave 1 and Wave 2, nothing too visually impressive for Deluxe standards. Editing this, I just realized why it's called Rock Rock Mountain. It's a bad pun. Also, why London Loop is also in this cup. It's also rock pun. And I love hearing this track recorded with a live band performance. It sounds so much better not being synthetic music, it being trapped on a 3DS sound chip, and the additions to the orchestral performance.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
In terms of the track design, it is just as impressive of a showcase for the glider ability, especially now in 200cc where you can fly so much farther high above the track. The new spin boost pillars during the uphill section only improve that tense section. The shortcuts are just as fun. It's a well-designed track with a lot of verticality, and it's a much better addition from 7 than Toad Circuit will ever be. Can you tell I don't like Toad Circuit yet? Oh, you'll be able to. You will. Anyways, Maple Treeway from Mario Kart Wii, which also reappeared in Mario Kart 7 and Tour, is a goddamn masterpiece. This track received the greatest graphical overhaul from Mario Kart Tour, featuring updated tree textures, upgraded dirt textures, upgraded bark textures, upgraded and different colored leaf textures on the trees, falling from the trees, and in piles of leaves scattered throughout the track, upgraded lighting, and the overall updated visuals with the assets used from Mario Kart Tour. But I must ask, why these grass textures though? They clash so hard with the upgraded dirt, bark, and tree textures, especially the tree textures. Why is this the bush and grass texture?
You just got coconut mold.
This track represents the highest standard visually from the Booster Course Pass so far, and it's the type of effort I hope to continue to see from tracks updated from Mario Kart Tour. When it comes to the new remix, I wouldn't say this remix trumps the Wii original, it's rather a different take that creates a more calm vibe, adding a countryside flavor to it. The track design is an almost perfect combination of the changes made since Wii, such as in Mario Kart 7 with the glider section that replaced the bouncing net and the additional ramp after the half-pipe section, and the return of the half-pipe from Wii. I say almost perfect because I want the scary bridge with no guardrails to return from Wii instead of the safe bridge from Tour that doesn't move funny. Also, thank you Nintendo for adding back the 2 paths with boost pads that lead back to the starting line. What can I say though, this is still the best version of the track ever released and still a damn fine track with so many fun turns and track elements. It was a necessary addition for Deluxe. And then there's the Moon Cup. Just saying the word moon gives me PTSD to Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning. Starting the Moon Cup, Berlin Byways from Mario Kart Tour is actually another excellent tour track, breaking the curse of there always being a less than stellar tour track per wave. Berlin Byways has received some significant graphical upgrades, from the grass and water textures to the road textures and tile textures in the train station, and a much more impressive skybox and better lighting. Overall, however, this track is less graphically impressive than the feats achieved with London Loop and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and retains much of its graphical style up-res from Mario Kart Tour. This track's music combines late 80s Euro dance and European classical music, which historically is extremely fitting for the modern history of Germany as a nation. In the late 1980s, Eurodance originated in Central Europe, especially in Germany. When it comes to classical music, Germany produced some of the most renowned classical composers, such as Johann Bach and Ludwig van Beethoven. And when it comes to the quality of the musical track, it is a fantastic effort in combining these two distinct musical art forms, creating a rave with orchestral elements. Berlin Byways' first lap is based on Berlin Byways 2, notably without the glide ramp at the Brandenburg Gate, and into the, then through the Berlin Victory Column, into the train station, and past the Berlin Cathedral. The second lap combines Berlin Byways 3 and Berlin Byways, with the glide ramp now present in front of the Brandenburg Gate. Players then pass through many of the notable features of Berlin, past Charlottenburg Palace, into the Tiergarten, and lastly through the Brandenburg Gate, now with thwomps to step on you and item boxes before the finish line. The last lap is based on Berlin Byways 1, past the Berlin Wall, and I wonder how that went down in the Mario universe.
Mr. Bowser, tear down this wall.
Come on, we all know Bowser likes communism. Then players are taken around the Schiller Monument, through the Tiergarten once again, this thing, and through the Brandenburg Gate once again. Also, they added more cars on the track and more spectators. Very cool. Overall, Berlin Byways is a fairly good tour edition. It's not as intuitive to race through as Paris Promenade or London Loop, but it has amazing music and great theming, alongside being a generally fun track once you become accustomed to it. It's a great addition from Tour, especially when it's clear Nintendo is staying the course of adding a large amount of Tour content with these large red arrows. I prefer they be replaced with the themed barricades of Tour. For Mario Kart DS, Peach Gardens is a good enough track to add. I've previously given my thoughts on this track in my video on Mario Kart DS, and it's certainly not one of my favorites, but considering that most of DS's best tracks have been added, I actually enjoy seeing it here, as long as DS Airship Fortress is added, and Luigi's Mansion. Okay, there are better tracks, but this track is good and distinct. Mario Kart Tour received Peach Gardens a week before Wave 3 was released, so its appearance is very similar to Mario Kart Tour, with the visual upgrades we've seen from other Tour tour tracks in this wave. However, this complete redesign of Peach Gardens with flowers, fountains, gazebos, topiaries of Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Toadette alongside Mario's redesigned topiary, taller castle walls, and many other unique details are brilliant additions that make this course feel so much more lively and so much more like a fancy European castle. And the updated score for Peach Gardens complements this new design extremely well, with the theme being much more elegant. It's a perfect tune for driving around a fancy garden. The first and second lap are indeed Peach Gardens. Shocker. But actually a shocker, the third lap takes you along a path previously blocked off and unutilized in the previous Mario Kart titles, leading players around the course in reverse with a glide ramp flying you over the maze. This is a really cool change that makes a generally formulaic Mario Kart track into a much more unique and exciting track without it being a change completely out of left field. However, there are some notable changes, such as the flowers being less obnoxious to avoid, the moles moving around, the maze being only 3 rows of varying sizes of green hedges, and the second maze turned into a roundabout with a big old piranha plant. All of these are generally great improvements. The original maze was a creative idea, but became a tad obnoxious to mosey through. The roundabout is much more fun to race around, as are the sections with large flower beds. Overall, this is my favorite version of Peach Gardens to date. It makes a fairly formulaic track from Mario Kart DS into a much more exciting, interesting track visually and to race around. Merry Mountain, a new track. Wait, a track from Mario Kart Tour from 2 years ago? What the f***, Nintendo? And Nintendo will admit Merry Mountain is from Tour on Twitter? Is Nintendo attempting to market this track and Ninja Hideaway as new tracks in an expansion pass marked explicitly for retro tracks? Technically, Sky High Sundae is a new track by a day. Okay. Stop it, Nintendo. Merry Mountain, a track from Mario Kart Tour in 2020, is the third track of the Moon Cup, and considering this was released in December, yep, it's Christmas time. Visually, yep, it checks out as a tour track with the usual assortment of graphical upgrades, and yeah, it looks pretty good. The music of this track feels like it'd be right at home in Super Mario Galaxy, with a fantastic use of trumpets and accordion alongside tubular bells that provide an excellent Christmas vibe. Merry Mountain is a fairly standard Mario Kart track, utilizing a singular instance of different pathways and generally normal turns for drifting. However, it does feature some unique elements that Nintendo has been really into with Wave 3, the return of half pipes on this track and Maple Treeway, which are awesome returning elements and give me hope for DK Summit. Give us Snowy Ape Mountains. And the utilization of anti-gravity booster pillars along a section converted into an anti-gravity section and a glider ramp make the course feel more epic in scope. Overall, this is a pretty good addition and keeps up Nintendo's trend of adding unique tour tracks that keep me from developing an Elon Musk hairline. The grand conclusion of Moon Cup and of Wave 3, 3DS Rainbow Road has become my favorite Rainbow Road of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Visually, this is the best graphical upgrade of any booster course pass track from Mario Kart Tour. The new mesmerizing road with changing rainbow colors, boost rings, and star-shaped rails from N64 Rainbow Road, a new beautiful skybox, and new texture enhancements arguably make this track look like a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe base track, which is something I obviously prefer. And with 3DS Rainbow Road free from the 3DS sound chip, this iteration of the theme, while very faithful, adds so much clarity to the song while retaining its original signature sound, and it's a joy to listen to. It embodies so much of what makes Rainbow Road so special. There are a few welcome changes with this version, most notably a wavy road section to trick off like N64 Rainbow Road and an anti-gravity section on the moon. From an enthralling Rainbow Road to Saturn's ring into the moon, 3DS Rainbow Road keeps you entertained with its clever track design and grandiose theming. I absolutely love this addition.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Mario Kart track design.
But hold on to your hats, because Wave 3 also adds a new setting for Versus, custom items in the vein of Super Smash Bros., allowing you to toggle items on and off and make the wackiest custom races possible, including the beautifully unholy Blue Shells only. Add 200cc mirror mode, cowards. I love when Nintendo randomly adds new features to Mario Kart 8. It makes such an old title feel new again. Wave 3 is certainly the best wave so far, with many more highs than lows. I can only hope Nintendo continues to improve on the quality of tracks visually and design-wise, and includes more tour dubs such as London Loop and more of Mario Kart's finest tracks such as Rock Mountain, Wii Maple Treeway, and 3DS Rainbow Road. They should definitely continue remixing formulaic Mario Kart tracks, making them a much more welcome addition, such as Peach Gardens. Die.